Have you ever caught a man staring at you, his eyes fixed, his thoughts a mystery? It's a moment that can feel both electrifying and puzzling. You might wonder, what is he thinking? Why does he keep looking? In those seconds, it's as if the world shrinks and his gaze becomes the only thing that matters. But here's the truth. When a man stares, it's never random. Every look holds a secret, a story, or an unspoken desire waiting to be unraveled. Many women assume that a man's stare is purely physical, that he's only drawn to appearances. But that's a limiting belief, isn't it? What if his gaze is saying so much more? What if his eyes are revealing something deeper, something about his emotions, his intentions, or even his insecurities? Misunderstanding these moments could lead you to miss the profound connection they might offer, or worse, misjudge his motives altogether. The good news. Understanding the hidden meanings behind a man's stare can transform how you perceive his intentions and even change the dynamic of your relationship. Whether he's silently admiring you, lost in thought, or seeking a connection he can't put into words, learning to decode his gaze is a skill that every woman deserves to master. Over the next few minutes, we're diving deep into the 7 fascinating meanings behind a man's stare. Each one peels back the layers of psychology, emotion, and attraction, helping you understand the magnetic pull that happens when his eyes lock with yours. Are you ready to uncover these secrets? Let's begin. 1. The magnetic power of a gaze. A man's gaze is powerful, so powerful in fact that it can leave you feeling breathless. But why? What makes a stare so intense? The answer lies in psychology and human connection. Eye contact, especially prolonged, triggers a part of the brain associated with emotional bonding and trust. When a man stares at you, he's not just looking, he's connecting. Or at least he's trying to. Imagine this scenario: you're at a cafe, and across the room, a man's eyes meet yours. At first, it feels casual, like he's scanning the room. But then, it lingers. His gaze softens, and suddenly, the air feels charged. What's happening in that moment? Is it attraction, curiosity, or something else entirely? For many men, staring is a form of silent communication. He might not have the words to express how he feels, but his eyes can say what his lips can't. He's intrigued by your presence, your energy, or even the mystery of who you are. His stare might be his way of asking questions he doesn't yet know how to voice. Who is she? What's her story? Would she notice me if I spoke to her? But it's not always about you. Sometimes his gaze reflects what's happening within him. Maybe he's lost in thought, and you've become the focal point of his mind's wanderings. Or perhaps he's testing himself, wondering if he's brave enough to approach you or if he should stay in his comfort zone. In moments like these, his stare reveals as much about him as it does about you. This is where Stoicism plays a role. Men who practice Stoicism, the art of emotional resilience and self-control, often approach relationships with a quiet strength. His gaze might appear calm, even unreadable, but beneath that exterior, there's a world of emotion he's carefully managing. Does he seem confident yet reserved? That's a sign he's observing, analyzing, and deciding how to engage without letting his emotions dictate his actions. So, how should you respond when you catch a man staring? The key is to match his energy. If his gaze feels warm and inviting, offer a soft smile or hold eye contact for just a moment longer. This subtle gesture tells him you're open to his curiosity without saying a word. But if his stare feels uncomfortable or invasive, trust your instincts. Look away, shift your posture, or politely excuse yourself. Your boundaries matter. Ultimately, a man's stare is a gateway, a glimpse into his mind and emotions. It's an invitation for connection, whether fleeting or profound. By learning to read the nuances of his gaze, you can decide whether to step through that gateway or close it gently. Either way, you hold the power. Now, let me ask you, have you ever caught a man staring at you in a way that felt different? What did you do? Share your story in the comments below. I'd love to hear how you navigated that moment. And stay tuned, because the next meaning behind his gaze will reveal even more about his intentions and how to understand them. Don't go anywhere, we're just getting started. 2. Confidence that captivates. When a man stares at you, it's often because something about you has caught his attention, something he can't quite put into words. But here's the twist. It's rarely just about how you look. It's about the energy you project, the way you carry yourself, and, most importantly, the confidence that radiates from within. Confidence is magnetic. It draws people in without effort. And when a man locks eyes with you, captivated, it's often because he senses that unspoken power you hold. But let's pause for a moment. What is confidence really? Is it just looking good in your favorite outfit or delivering a witty comeback in a conversation? No, it's so much deeper than that. Confidence is about knowing who you are, what you stand for, and being unapologetically yourself in every situation. It's about walking into a room and commanding attention, not because you're loud or flashy, but because your presence speaks volumes. And here's the truth. When you exude that kind of self-assurance, men notice. They can't help it. Think about it. Have you ever walked past a group of people and felt their eyes on you, not because of what you're wearing or how you look, but because of the way you move, the way you hold your head high? That's the kind of confidence we're talking about. It's not something you can fake, and it's not about being perfect. It's about being authentic, and authenticity is irresistible. When a man stares at you with that look, the one that lingers just a second too long, it's often his way of trying to figure you out. He sees your confidence, and it intrigues him. He wonders what makes her so sure of herself. What's her story? That curiosity is the first step toward attraction. But here's the key. His stare is just the beginning. What happens next depends on how you respond. So, how do you hold his attention without saying a word? It starts with your energy. Confidence is a silent language, and it's communicated through your posture, your passions, and even the way you breathe. Stand tall, keep your shoulders back, and let your gaze be steady but inviting. If he catches your eye, don't be afraid to hold the moment for just a beat longer than usual. That tiny pause creates tension, a magnetic pull that's impossible to ignore. But confidence isn't just about body language, it's about mindset too. When you know your worth, you don't need to seek validation from anyone, not even him. This is where Stoicism plays a powerful role. The Stoic mindset teaches us to remain grounded and composed, no matter what's happening around us. Imagine this. A man is staring at you, hoping to see how you'll react. Instead of fidgeting or looking away nervously, you meet his gaze with calm self-assurance. You don't flinch, and you don't overthink. That unshakable presence speaks volumes. It tells him you're a woman who knows exactly who she is. Now, let's talk about something important. Confidence doesn't mean arrogance, and it doesn't mean playing games. It's about being real. If a man is staring at you because he's drawn to your energy, don't feel the need to put on an act. Just be yourself. That's the magic ingredient that keeps him intrigued. Pretending to be someone you're not might catch his attention for a moment, but it's your authenticity that will hold it. And let's not forget, confidence also comes from self-care. When you feel good about yourself, whether it's because you've taken time to work out, eat well, or simply do something that makes you happy, it shows. Your inner glow becomes your outer glow. And that's what he's seeing when he stares. So ask yourself, what's one thing you can do today to feel more confident in your own skin? It doesn't have to be big. Sometimes it's as simple as wearing your favorite perfume or taking 5 minutes to remind yourself of your strengths. But what happens if you're not feeling confident? What if, in that moment, his stare makes you feel self-conscious instead of empowered? Here's the thing. Confidence is a skill, and like any skill, it can be practiced and developed. Start small. When you catch a man staring, instead of doubting yourself, take it as a compliment. Remind yourself that his gaze is a reflection of your light, not a critique of your flaws. Over time, this mindset shift will become second nature. Another tip: surround yourself with people who lift you up. Confidence grows in an environment of positivity and support. When you have friends, mentors, or even a strong community that believes in you, it becomes easier to believe in yourself. And guess what? That belief is what makes you irresistible. It's what makes a man stare at you, not just because of how you look, but because of the way you make him feel curious, intrigued, and maybe even a little captivated. As we dive deeper into the meanings behind a man's stare, I want you to remember this. Confidence isn't about being perfect, it's about being present. When you embrace who you are, flaws and all, you give others permission to do the same. And that's the kind of energy that changes the game, not just in dating, but in every area of life. So let me ask you, the next time you catch a man staring at you, how will you respond? Will you let self-doubt creep in, or will you own the moment and let your confidence shine? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your stories. And if you're enjoying this video, do me a favor, like it and drop a comment with number 1 to let me know you're loving the content. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the rest of these powerful insights. Trust me, we're just getting started. Now, are you ready to dive even deeper into what his stare could mean? Stick around, because the next insight is all about emotional sensitivity and connection, and you don't want to miss it. 3. Emotional sensitivity and connection. When a man stares at you, it's easy to feel like you're the center of his world for that brief moment. But have you ever wondered what he's really feeling? Is his gaze a window into his soul, or is it a silent puzzle waiting for you to piece it together? The truth is, his stare often reveals more than words ever could, and understanding it requires you to tap into your own emotional sensitivity, a gift many women naturally possess. As women, we often have an uncanny ability to read emotions. We notice the slight lift of a brow, the flicker of hesitation in someone's eyes, or the way their posture shifts when they're nervous. It's not just intuition, it's a blend of empathy, observation, and emotional intelligence. And when a man stares at you, that ability becomes your greatest tool. Is he shy, gathering the courage to approach you? Is he awestruck, marveling at your presence? Or is there a deeper story unfolding in his mind? His gaze might not just be about you, it could be a reflection of what he's experiencing internally. Perhaps he's carrying the weight of emotions he doesn't know how to express. Men, after all, are often taught to mask their feelings, to appear stoic and composed no matter what. But in those moments of silent observation, his eyes can betray him. They might reveal admiration, longing, or even vulnerability, emotions he's not used to sharing openly. This is where your emotional sensitivity comes into play. Instead of rushing to conclusions, try to sense what his stare is communicating. Is it soft and warm, suggesting curiosity and interest, or is it intense, almost searching, as if he's trying to decode your essence? Each gaze is unique, and your ability to interpret it with empathy can lead to a deeper connection. But let's not overlook something important. Sensitivity is a double-edged sword. While it allows you to connect and understand, it can also make you more vulnerable to overthinking. Have you ever caught yourself wondering, why is he looking at me like that? Is something wrong? Am I being judged? It's easy to let insecurities creep in, especially when someone's attention feels so direct. But here's a reminder. His gaze is his choice, not a critique of who you are. When a man stares, it's often because you've captured his attention in a way that words can't explain. And that's powerful. But it's also why emotional sensitivity must be paired with confidence. When you're secure in yourself, you can interpret his gaze without letting your own doubts cloud the moment. Instead of worrying, you can simply be present, open, and curious about what his eyes are trying to say. Sometimes, his stare is a bridge, a silent way of reaching out to you. And in these moments, how you respond can either build that bridge or quietly dismantle it. A soft smile, a steady glance, or even a brief meeting of eyes can send a clear signal that you're open to connection. But if you're not interested, that's okay too. Your boundaries are just as important as your ability to connect. Men often struggle with expressing emotions directly, and this is where stoicism comes into play again. For men who embody this mindset, emotions are carefully managed, often hidden beneath a composed exterior. His stare might be one of the few ways he allows his feelings to surface. In these moments, he's letting his eyes speak for him, even if he doesn't realize it. It's a delicate balance, revealing just enough without feeling exposed. And your sensitivity can help you navigate this dynamic with grace. But let's talk about the flip side. What if his stare isn't about emotional connection at all? What if it feels distant, cold, or even calculating? Emotional sensitivity doesn't just help you connect. It also helps you protect yourself. If his gaze makes you uncomfortable, trust that feeling. Your instincts are there for a reason, and they're often more accurate than you realize. Sensitivity isn't just about understanding others, it's about understanding yourself too. So what can you take away from this? A man's stare is rarely as simple as it seems. It's a mixture of what he's feeling and what he's trying to convey, often without words. Your ability to read those emotions is a gift, but it's one that requires balance. Be open, but don't lose yourself in the process. Be empathetic, but stay grounded in your own truth. Emotional sensitivity is your superpower, but like any power, it's most effective when used wisely. The next time you catch a man staring, pause for a moment. Instead of jumping to conclusions, ask yourself, what do I sense in his gaze? What is he trying to tell me? This small act of reflection can transform a fleeting glance into a meaningful moment, whether it leads to connection, understanding, or simply a greater appreciation for the complexity of human emotion. His stare may hold a world of unspoken feelings, but remember, you have the ability to meet him there or not. That choice is always yours. As we continue exploring the meanings behind his gaze, you'll discover even more layers to this silent yet powerful form of communication. Stay with me, there's so much more to uncover. 4. Actions speak louder than words. Have you ever noticed how much a person can say without ever opening their mouth? A glance, a gesture, or even the smallest nod can carry a message far more powerful than words. When a man stares at you, his eyes often tell a story he's not ready to voice. But here's the fascinating part. His stare isn't just about looking, it's about observing, analyzing, and in some cases, testing the waters to see how you might respond. Men, as much as they might like to think they're straightforward, often rely on nonverbal cues to communicate. For many, staring is a way of expressing interest, admiration, or curiosity without the vulnerability of saying it out loud. It's subtle, but make no mistake, it's intentional. And in the moments when his gaze lingers, he's hoping to see something in your reaction that encourages him to take the next step. But let's dig deeper. What does he expect to see when he looks at you? Is he searching for a smile, a spark of interest in your eyes, or a sign that you've noticed him too? And what if you don't respond? Does that change how he feels, or does it only make him more determined to get your attention? These are the unspoken dynamics of attraction, the push and pull of energy that happens before words are even exchanged. Your response, whether it's a brief glance, a confident smile, or even a playful flick of your hair, can set the tone for what happens next. That's the beauty of nonverbal communication. It's subtle, powerful, and entirely in your control. If his stare makes you feel intrigued, you can let your body language mirror that feeling. Hold his gaze for just a moment longer than necessary, then look away with a hint of a smile. It's a classic move, but it works every time. On the flip side, if his stare feels too intense or unwelcome, you also have the power to send a clear message. Avoiding eye contact, shifting your body slightly, or even a firm glance that says not interested can communicate your boundaries without needing to say a word. Remember, actions speak louder than words, and your body language can be your greatest ally in moments like these. But why does this dynamic work so well? It's because humans are hardwired to respond to nonverbal cues. Studies show that body language and facial expressions account for the majority of communication, far outweighing the impact of spoken words. When a man stares at you, he's not just watching your reactions, he's feeling them. Your energy, confidence, and authenticity are what truly capture his attention, far more than anything you could say. Now, let's talk about one of the most powerful nonverbal signals you can use, nodding. It might seem simple, but nodding your head during a conversation, or even subtly when he's looking at you, can create a sense of connection and agreement. It's like saying, I see you, I understand. And that's incredibly attractive to men. It shows that you're present, engaged, and receptive to the energy he's putting out. But there's another layer to this. A man's stare isn't always about you, it's often about him. He might be reflecting on his own thoughts, wondering if he's confident enough to approach you, or trying to gauge whether you're someone who would welcome his attention. In these moments, his gaze is as much about self-discovery as it is about attraction, and your ability to interpret his intentions while staying true to your own boundaries is what makes this dance of connection so fascinating. This is where Stoic dating comes into play. Men who practice Stoicism often approach relationships with a sense of calm control, observing more than they speak. Their gaze might seem steady, even unreadable, but it's filled with intent. They're watching to see if your energy aligns with theirs, if your confidence matches their quiet strength. Understanding this dynamic can help you navigate these moments with grace and clarity. So how can you make the most of this silent exchange? It starts with being present. When you notice a man staring, take a moment to check in with yourself. What are you feeling? Curiosity, attraction, discomfort? Whatever it is, let your response come from an authentic place. If you're interested, let your body language reflect that. If not, don't be afraid to set a boundary. Either way, your actions will speak louder than any words you could say. Now, let me ask you this. The next time you catch a man staring, what will you do? Will you use that moment as an opportunity to connect, or will you let it pass by? There's no right or wrong answer. It's all about what feels right for you. But one thing's for sure, those silent moments of eye contact are more powerful than they seem. They're the starting point of a conversation that doesn't need words to be heard. If this insight resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Like this video and drop a comment with number 1 if you're enjoying this journey into understanding the hidden dynamics of attraction. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the rest of this series. Trust me, the next insight will blow your mind. Stay tuned, because we're only halfway through unlocking the mysteries of his gaze. The best is yet to come. 5. Inner beauty over outer appearance. When a man stares at you, it's tempting to assume he's only captivated by what he sees on the surface. Your smile, your eyes, the way you carry yourself. And yes, physical attraction often plays a role in those lingering glances. But here's the secret. The men who truly see you, the ones worth your time, are drawn to something far deeper. They're captivated not just by how you look, but by the essence of who you are. Think about it. Outer beauty is fleeting. Trends come and go, appearances change, and what's considered attractive today might be forgotten tomorrow. But inner beauty, that's timeless. It's the unique blend of your values, your kindness, your intelligence, and your authenticity that leaves a lasting impression. When a man stares at you with genuine interest, he's often searching for signs of that depth. Is there more to you than meets the eye? Can he connect with you on a level that transcends the superficial? This is where things get interesting. A man who values inner beauty is one who's likely looking for a real connection. He's not just admiring the way you look, he's observing the way you move through the world. How do you treat the people around you? What makes you laugh? What are you passionate about? These are the questions his stare might be asking, even if he doesn't realize it himself. Men who are drawn to inner beauty often have a quiet intensity about them. They're not interested in flashy displays or shallow interactions. They're seeking something meaningful. This is where Stoicism comes into play. A man with a Stoic mindset approaches relationships with purpose and thoughtfulness. He values character over charm, substance over style. His stare then becomes a tool for discovery. He's observing, learning, and deciding if your energy aligns with his own. But let's be real. Not every man who stares is looking for inner beauty. Some are simply caught up in appearances, and their gaze reflects nothing more than surface-level attraction. It's up to you to recognize the difference. Does his stare feel genuine, or does it feel hollow? Is he noticing you as a whole person, or is he fixated on one aspect of your appearance? These are subtle distinctions, but they can tell you a lot about his intentions. Here's where your own inner beauty comes into play. When you know your worth, when you value yourself for more than just how you look, you set the standard for how others treat you. A man who stares at you with real interest will notice this confidence. He'll see that you're not just beautiful, but also grounded, self-assured, and deeply authentic. And that's what will keep him captivated long after the initial attraction fades. So, how do you cultivate this inner beauty that draws the right kind of attention? It starts with self-awareness. Take time to reflect on what makes you unique. What are your strengths? What are your passions? What do you stand for? When you're clear on these things, they naturally shine through in everything you do, from the way you speak to the way you interact with others. Inner beauty isn't about perfection, it's about being fully, unapologetically yourself. It's also about kindness. The way you treat others says more about you than any outfit or hairstyle ever could. When a man sees you being compassionate, thoughtful, or generous, it leaves a lasting impression. He recognizes that your beauty isn't just skin deep, it's woven into the very fabric of who you are. And let's not forget intelligence. Men who value inner beauty are often drawn to women who challenge them intellectually. Your thoughts, your ideas, your curiosity, these are the things that make you unforgettable. When he stares, he's not just admiring your appearance, he's wondering about your mind. What do you think about? What excites you? What keeps you up at night? These are the questions that linger in his gaze. Of course, none of this means that outer beauty doesn't matter. It does, but only as a starting point. The men who stare because they're truly interested in you will look beyond the surface. They'll see the sparkle in your eyes when you talk about something you're passionate about. They'll notice the warmth in your smile when you're genuinely happy. And they'll be drawn to the quiet confidence that comes from knowing who you are. But what about the men who don't see past appearances? The ones who stare without ever truly seeing you? They're not worth your time. You deserve someone who values every part of you, not just the parts that are easy to see. And the best way to attract that kind of person is to embody the qualities you want to see in others. When you lead with authenticity, you naturally attract those who appreciate it. So the next time you catch a man staring, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, what is he really seeing? Is he noticing the real me, or just the surface? And more importantly, does his attention align with what you value in yourself? Because at the end of the day, the gaze that matters most is the one that sees you for who you truly are. And that's the kind of gaze worth meeting. This is the beauty of inner connection. It's not about being perfect or fitting into someone else's expectations. It's about being real, being kind, and being confident in your own skin. And when a man stares at you with genuine interest, it's a reflection of those qualities shining through. That's the power of inner beauty. It's the kind of magnetism that never fades. Stay tuned because there's still more to uncover about the hidden meanings behind his gaze. 6. The role of emotional depth. Have you ever locked eyes with a man and felt that there was something more behind his stare, something unspoken, almost heavy with emotion? It's as if, in that brief moment, his gaze carries a world of feelings he can't express out loud. This is the power of emotional depth, and it's often what makes a man's stare linger longer than usual. Men are not always as outwardly expressive as women when it comes to emotions. Many are raised with the idea that vulnerability is weakness, that showing their feelings somehow diminishes their strength. But here's the catch. Those emotions are still there, buried under layers of composure. And sometimes the only way they surface is through a long, thoughtful stare. This is where things get interesting. When a man with emotional depth stares at you, he's not just admiring you. He's feeling. Maybe he's remembering something you said that moved him. Maybe he's trying to understand why your presence stirs something inside him. Or maybe he's using his gaze to say what he doesn't have the words for. You make me feel something I don't fully understand. For many men, humor becomes their armor, their way of coping with emotions that feel too big or too complex to handle. That's why some of the funniest men are also the most emotionally layered. When he stares at you, it might be because you've sparked something deeper in him, something he hasn't felt in a long time or maybe ever. Your authenticity, your warmth, or even your quiet strength can draw him into an emotional space he's not used to navigating. But emotional depth isn't always easy to interpret. Sometimes his stare might seem distant, as if he's lost in his own thoughts. And maybe he is. Men often process emotions internally before they feel ready to share them. In those moments, his gaze is less about you and more about him, his fears, his hopes, his uncertainties. It's not a rejection of you, it's a reflection of the inner work he's doing. This is where Stoic dating comes into play. Men who embrace Stoicism often balance their emotional depth with a sense of calm control. They're introspective, thoughtful, and deliberate in their actions. If his gaze seems intense but composed, it's likely because he's weighing his feelings carefully, not rushing to act on them. He's asking himself, is this connection real? Is she someone who will understand the parts of me I rarely show? These questions add layers to his stare, making it feel even more profound. But here's the challenge. How do you respond to a man who feels deeply but speaks sparingly? The answer lies in meeting him where he is, without trying to force the connection. Let your own emotional depth guide you. If his stare feels warm and inviting, reflect that energy back to him. Share a moment of vulnerability, something that shows you're open to connecting on a deeper level. But if his gaze feels uncertain or closed off, give him the space he needs to process. Sometimes the best way to connect is by allowing him to come to you when he's ready. Your own emotional depth plays a crucial role here. When you're comfortable with your feelings and unafraid to express them, you create a safe space for him to do the same. This doesn't mean you have to bare your soul immediately. Emotional intimacy takes time to build. But even small moments of honesty can pave the way for a connection that goes beyond surface-level attraction. Let's not forget that emotional depth is also about resilience. When you catch a man staring at you, it's easy to let insecurities creep in. You might wonder, is he judging me? Does he see my flaws? But here's the truth. A man with true emotional depth isn't looking for perfection. He's looking for authenticity. He's drawn to the parts of you that are real, even if they're messy or complicated. And the best way to connect with him is to embrace those parts of yourself fully. Now, let's get practical. What can you do when a man's stare feels like it carries a deeper meaning? Start by being present. Don't overanalyze or second-guess yourself. Instead, focus on the energy of the moment. What do you feel in his gaze? Curiosity, admiration, vulnerability? Let your intuition guide you. It's often more accurate than you realize. Next, use your body language to signal openness. A soft smile, a relaxed posture, or even a subtle tilt of your head can show him that you're approachable and interested. But remember, your boundaries matter too. If his gaze feels overwhelming or unwelcome, trust your instincts and create distance. Emotional depth doesn't mean sacrificing your comfort or sense of safety. Finally, don't be afraid to ask questions, both of him and of yourself. If you sense that his stare is trying to tell you something, invite him to share what he's feeling. A simple "what's on your mind" can open the door to a meaningful conversation, and for yourself, reflect on what his attention brings up for you. Does it make you feel seen and appreciated, or does it stir up doubts you need to address? Self-awareness is key to navigating these moments with confidence. When a man with emotional depth stares at you, it's not just an exchange of glances, it's an exchange of energy. He's showing you a part of himself that he doesn't reveal to just anyone. And in doing so, he's inviting you to see him in a way that goes beyond words. That's the beauty of emotional connection. It's silent, powerful, and unforgettable. If this resonates with you, let's keep this journey going. Like this video and drop a comment with number 1 if you're finding these insights helpful. And don't forget to subscribe for more. It's only getting better from here. Stick around, because there's still one more powerful meaning behind his gaze that will tie everything together. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. 7. Building and reading connection. There's an undeniable magic in the moments when a man's eyes meet yours, holding your gaze just long enough to create a spark of connection. It's as if the world pauses for a fraction of a second, allowing something unspoken to pass between you. But what's truly happening in these moments? Is it an invitation, a revelation, or simply an accident of timing? The truth lies in understanding the deeper dynamics of connection, what his gaze is trying to build, and what you're meant to discover. When a man stares at you, it's often the beginning of a silent conversation. In those seconds, he's asking questions without words. Do you see me? Do you feel this too? It's a test of resonance, a way to gauge whether the energy he feels in himself mirrors the energy he senses in you. His gaze isn't just an observation, it's an exploration. He's looking for signs of mutual interest, shared understanding, and perhaps the potential for something more. For some men, staring is an act of courage. Approaching someone directly can feel intimidating, especially when the stakes seem high. A lingering gaze becomes a safer way of expressing interest, a nonverbal way of saying, "I want to know more about you." But this subtle act is also a risk. By holding your gaze, he's making himself vulnerable, exposing his curiosity in his hope that you'll respond in kind. But connection is never one-sided. When a man stares at you, he's also inviting you to meet him halfway. How you respond can shape the course of what comes next. Do you hold his gaze, letting him know you're intrigued? Do you smile, signaling openness and warmth? Or do you look away, choosing to let the moment pass? Each reaction sends a message, and each choice creates a different path forward. Here's where the beauty of human connection truly shines. Every glance, every flicker of eye contact carries the potential to change the story of your day, or even your life. A man's stare might seem like a small thing, but in the grand scheme of relationships, it's often the first step in a journey towards something meaningful. His gaze is a doorway, and whether you choose to walk through it or close it gently is entirely up to you. But let's take a step back. Not every gaze leads to a connection worth pursuing. This is where your ability to read and interpret the moment becomes essential. Does his stare feel genuine, or does it carry an edge of insincerity? Is his energy inviting, or does it feel too intense? Trusting your intuition is key to navigating these moments with clarity and confidence. Your instincts are rarely wrong, and they're often the best guide for deciding whether to engage or move on. When you do choose to engage, the way you communicate matters. Connection is built not just through words, but also through the energy you bring to the interaction. A man who stares at you with genuine interest will be drawn to your authenticity, your kindness, and your ability to stay present. You don't need to impress him or put on a show. Simply being yourself, confident, curious, and open, is enough. This is where Stoicism offers an invaluable perspective. In the context of relationships, Stoicism reminds us to approach moments of connection with both intention and balance. When you catch a man staring, resist the urge to overanalyze or rush to judgment. Instead, let yourself be fully present in the moment. Observe, feel, and respond with honesty. This calm, grounded approach creates an atmosphere of trust and mutual respect, an essential foundation for any meaningful connection. But what happens when his gaze isn't returned? When you choose not to engage, or when the moment doesn't feel right? That's okay too. Not every connection is meant to be pursued, and recognizing this is an act of self-respect. A man's stare is not a demand, it's an invitation, and you have every right to decline that invitation if it doesn't align with your feelings or values. At the same time, it's important to reflect on what his attention stirs in you. Does his stare make you feel seen, appreciated, or valued? Or does it bring up insecurities, doubts, or discomfort? These moments can be opportunities for self-discovery, revealing what you need and want in a connection. By understanding your own reactions, you gain greater clarity about what matters most to you in relationships. Connection is a two-way street, and the most profound relationships are built on mutual respect, understanding, and authenticity. When a man stares at you, he's offering the first thread of a potential bond. Whether that thread weaves into a deeper connection or simply drifts away depends on how both of you choose to engage. And that's the beauty of these moments. They're filled with possibility, waiting to be shaped by your choices. As you reflect on the meaning behind his gaze, remember this: you hold the power in every interaction. A man's stare is an invitation, but it's your response that defines the outcome. Whether you choose to explore the connection or let it fade, trust yourself to make the decision that feels right for you. After all, the most meaningful connections are the ones that align with your true self, and those are always worth waiting for. A man's stare is never just a glance, it's a story waiting to unfold. Whether it's filled with curiosity, admiration, or emotional depth, it's his way of expressing what words often can't. Each look carries layers of meaning, a mix of what he feels and what he hopes to discover in you. It's a moment of connection, sometimes fleeting, sometimes profound, but always rich with possibility. As we've explored, his gaze can signify many things: his intrigue with your confidence, his appreciation for your inner beauty, his attempt to build a bridge of connection, or even his quiet exploration of emotions he struggles to voice. The question isn't just what does his stare mean, but also what does it mean to you? Ultimately, the power of his gaze lies in your response. It's not just about what he sees in you, it's about what you see in yourself. When you embrace your confidence, honor your authenticity, and trust your instincts, you become the author of every interaction. His stare is merely the beginning. You decide how the story unfolds. As you move forward, remember that you hold the key to every connection. A man's gaze might be captivating, but it's your self-awareness and strength that turn it into something meaningful. Whether you choose to engage, explore, or simply let the moment pass, your decision is what matters most. Now, it's your turn. What do you see when someone looks at you that way? Let those moments be an opportunity to not only connect with others, but also to connect more deeply with yourself. And if you're ready to continue this journey of self-discovery and connection, don't hesitate to stay with us for more insights. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of the power of a man's stare. Until next time, stay confident, authentic, and open to the possibilities that each glance might bring. Your story is unfolding. Write it with intention and grace.